Alrighty, so I'm just going to do this preview of the Saturday game of match week number 10 as fast as I can because I do have a dental appointment in the next hour, and if I don't do this before I have my dental appointment and do a filling, I basically can't do it for the rest of the day because I will be pretty much numb throughout the rest of the day and I wouldn't be able to speak very well after when I finish my filling and my dental appointment. But that being said, let's actually get into the first game of the 11 game action that's going to be happening on Saturday as part of match week number 10. And we start off with Charlotte versus Inter Miami, as this game is the Twitter game starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 3:50 p.m. local time. Charlotte, of course, coming into this game with a 3-1-6 record, while Inter Miami coming into this game with a 3-1-5 record. And this is, of course, the first ever meeting between both of these teams, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. And that, for Charlotte, they are playing at home for the first time. What it seems like it's been a while since they've been back home. I mean, I know they started their first couple of games at home. I think they have already played like 3 home games so far, and then they go through a bit of a road trip. But a chance to play against an Inter Miami team that, the last game was definitely a huge reality check against New England. That, yeah, even though they of course got things back on track, maybe not so. And especially, I still don't know the severity of Leo Campana's injury. I mean, they said that he, of course, is going to be out for this game too, and that, if they don't get him back soon, this could be a big problem for this Inter Miami team, because we know that he is the catalyst of this team, and that without him, you definitely saw what happened to this Inter Miami team, especially going forward on the attack. But moving on, in terms of the next match, we got Montreal versus Orlando City, as this game will kick off 30 minutes after this one at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Well, actually, technically, it kicks off about 18 minutes, because since this is the Twitter game, it starts 20 minutes later, and this one starts 8 minutes later at 4:08 p.m. local time. Montreal, of course, have a 4-2-3 record, and they are considered one of the hottest teams right now in the league, and they get to face against an Orlando City side that, despite the fact that they haven't been playing well this season, somehow they're still second in the Eastern Conference with a 5-2-3 record. All-time meeting, Orlando does lead the series 8-7-3 record over Montreal, including earlier this season where Orlando was able to win 2-0 against Montreal, and then they won 2-0 on the road against Montreal as part of the rematch or as that is, of course, the match of decision day from last year. Then it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams. Then Montreal actually won 4-2 against Orlando City before Orlando was able to win 1-0 on the road against Montreal. So, again, Orlando seems to have Montreal's number, though, again, this is a resurgent Montreal team, and that Wilfried Nancy side has been just red hot in these last couple of games and have really got themselves in a very good position. In fact, I think at the time we're speaking, I think they're now 5th or 4th in the Eastern Conference right now. I mean, it was not long ago we were talking about Montreal being a basement dweller because of them balancing seeing MLS play and also CCL play, and it's no surprise that now we start to see some teams, if not every single team, done with CCL, because we just had the historic CCL final happen a couple of days ago. We're going to start seeing some teams that, maybe are near the bottom of the table and weren't expected to do so, but now that they're out of CCL and they focus straight on MLS, they should able to have a decent record. I mean, theoretically, that of course is the case, because we've seen before where teams, of course, do well in CCL, and yeah, things does not work out in terms of the league form. But at least for Montreal, it doesn't seem like that is the case. It seems like they're back to where they were expected to be a dark horse this season. Now, moving on, we got Atlanta United versus the Chicago Fire, and I would like to say that this is, of course, a desperation derby, and also a derby that both teams are desperate in terms of scoring goals, because, yeah, both of these teams have really struggled to score goals. For Atlanta United, they have a 3-2-4 record, and even though they're not really kind of in a goal drought, because, in the last game they did score 1 goal, and then in the previous game they also scored 1 goal, this team has found it tough to score a goal ever since Joseph Martinez went down with a knee injury. Whereas for the Chicago Fire, they're indeed in a goal drought right now. I mean, and they kind of realized that by deciding to sign Chris Mueller, who, if Mueller does play in this game, oh boy, I mean, what a way to debut for the Chicago Fire when you're playing against a team that, during his day with Orlando City, how much he is definitely up for it to play against Atlanta United. And if that is going to be the case, boy, oh boy, that's going to be a very, very exciting debut for him and see how he's going to maybe make a difference to this Fire team, because again, this Fire team, they just cannot find the ball in the back of the net right now. Like, they haven't been able to score a goal in what, well, actually they have scored a goal in the last game against the Red Bulls, but in terms of open play, it's been a long time since the Fire has been able to score in open play. But this game, of course, will start at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 6:08 p.m. local time. Atlanta has a 3-3-4 record, and unsurprisingly, with them heading into a downward spiral, they're now below the red line, whereas the Chicago Fire, second to dead last in the Eastern Conference with a 2-4-3 record. And in some way, both of these teams, their story of this season is very similar, where they got off to a good start to the season. Everybody thought that things were going to go well for their team, and yeah, now they find themselves below the red line. But the last 5 head-to-head matchup, we got the Fire winning 3-0 against Atlanta, before Atlanta winning 3-1 against the Fire. The Fire did win 2-0 against Atlanta before the Fire win 5-1 against Atlanta, and then the Chicago Fire also win 2-0 against Atlanta United. But in terms of the all-time meeting, both of these teams have 5 wins apiece, and surprisingly, there hasn't been a draw in this game. So, you know, is this going to be maybe the first time we're going to see a 0-0 draw, knowing the fact that both of these offense struggle? Hopefully not. I mean, I've said before that there are some games that I figure it's going to end in a 0-0 draw, and that sometimes some of these games doesn't end in a 0-0 draw. Sometimes there actually may be some goals that is being scored, but like I said, with a game where you have both teams that struggle to score goals, I don't think it should surprise anyone that if this does get into a 0-0 draw. And if that is the case, it is history with the way that this could be the first time that both of these teams draw in terms of the all-time meeting. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the New York Red Bulls versus the Portland Timbers. So, you know, for the Red Bulls, they're back at home, which normally for an MLS team, that should be a good thing, because they have a chance to get all 3 points. But that's not the case for them this season. I mean, I've said before, this has been a very strange season for the Red Bulls, where for whatever reason, they currently tie the record for the longest winning streak on the road to start the season at 5 that was set by the Galaxy back in 1998. But they also are now still winless at home. And they're going to be playing against a Timbers side that, talk about a team that have struggled to score a goal. They have not scored a goal in the past 2 games. I mean, the goal drought is definitely been a problem, and it's no surprise that, you know, just a couple of days ago they decided to sign a striker, though it's more of a striker that is not from other, well, not a striker from the other leagues in South America or even in Europe, but more like within the US and from their T2 squad. But there's no doubt that the Timbers are desperate in terms of finding a goal scored. And also the other thing that doesn't help for this Timbers side is injury has really hit them hard. I mean, one of the things that I did mention in the last game, and the reason why maybe the Timbers look so poor against the Rapids, is that they did not have Sebastian Blanco and Diego Chara. And when you're missing those two pieces, that is the glue in terms of the attack and also in the defense, it's no surprise that they didn't really show much of a resistance against the Colorado Rapids on the road. And we'll see whether or not if they're going to be back in this game, because coming into this game, with the Red Bulls have a 5-2-2 record and the Timbers with a 2-5-3 record. And this game starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. The Red Bulls does have a good record against the Timbers with a 5-3-2 record, and the last 5 head-to-head pretty much proves that. They won 2-0 on the road against the Timbers, won 4-0 at home the last time this match was at Red Bull Arena. The Timbers did win 2-0 against the Red Bulls, but then it was a 0-0 draw between both of these teams, and then the Red Bulls, of course, winning 2-0 against the Timbers. So in some way, this is a game where both of these teams are desperate in terms of getting a win for different reasons. For the Red Bulls, you know, as much as they've done so well on the road, they definitely want to start winning some game at home. I mean, their fans, you know, they're happy of where they are in the standings in the second in the East, and that they are already on point of potentially having the most road wins we have seen an MLS team in a season. But at the same time, their home fans want to see them win in person, and this is a good opportunity against a struggling Timbers side, and maybe once again a short-handed Timbers side, because I don't know the status of both Diego Chara or Blanco, whether or not if he is going to if both of them are coming back in this game. But moving on, in terms of the next match, so from one New York team to the other New York team, we got NYCFC versus Sporting KC, as this game will also start at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I think this is the first time in a while we see both New York teams playing at home, and they're basically playing simultaneously at the same time. But yeah, this game, of course, will also start at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. NYCFC have a 4-1-3 record, while Sporting KC have a 2-2-6 record. This game, of course, will be playing at Citi Field because I believe the Yankees are playing in a weekend series this week, so therefore that's why NYCFC aren't able to play at home, and insert all those jokes about how NYCFC are basically homeless right now. All-time meeting so far, NYCFC does have a slight edge, 3-0-2 over Sporting KC. And in terms of the all-time meeting in the last 5 head-to-head, it was NYCFC winning 3-1 against Sporting KC before NYCFC winning 2-0 against Sporting KC. Then NYCFC winning 1-0 against Sporting KC. Sporting KC did win 3-1 against NYCFC, and then Sporting KC did win 1-0 on the road against NYCFC. So NYCFC have definitely done much better in the last 3 meeting, winning all 3 of the last 3 meeting against Sporting KC, and there could be a chance that it could be 4 in a row, knowing the fact that Sporting KC is really struggling right now, also heading a downward spiral with them winless in the past 4 games. And NYCFC is like some of these teams I mentioned that has been in CCL, but now that once they're done with it and now can focus solely on the league, you can see that they're already starting a resurgence, and in fact, this is one of the hottest attacking team in the league. I mean, in the past 3 games alone, they've scored 13 goals against their opposition, and against a Sporting KC team that not only cannot score, but also have trouble in terms of defending. This could get ugly for Sporting KC, but you never know. Maybe Sporting KC can show some resistance in this game, though. Again, it's not going to be easy when they are playing against an NYCFC team that, you know, doesn't matter if they play at Yankee Stadium or at Citi Field. And I feel like if they play at a baseball stadium, they know they can, of course, score goals, because we know that when they do play at a soccer specific stadium, or in the case of Red Bull Arena, that is kind of really where they kind of struggle in the attack. But moving on, in terms of the next game, is DC United versus the Houston Dynamo. So this is a kind of an interesting one, because DC, of course, after they come off of a loss in the last game and have a record of 3-0-5, they're also playing against a Houston team that, you know, things have started to kind of get to a point where the Dynamo is started to slowly fall back to that category that, yeah, they're still rebuilding, and that fast start they had in the season is started to become a little bit of a mirage, which I think Dynamo fans can realize that, yeah, this feels like something similar to what happened in 2019 and 2018, where this team was also off to a fast start, and then it was not the case anymore. But this game will start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. All-time meeting between both of these teams. Believe it or not, Houston has absolutely dominated DC United in the all-time meeting. Like, they have a record of 17-6-5 over DC. And the last 5 head-to-head meeting, it pretty much shown, with the Dynamo winning 2-1 against DC, and then it was a 2-2 draw between both of these teams. Then the Dynamo, a rare road win against DC United, 3-1, before it was a 0-0 draw between both of these teams, and then a 1-1 draw between both of these teams. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this game, of course, would turn out. I mean, normally for the Dynamo, whenever they play on the road, it usually means that it's going to be an automatic L, or maybe if they're lucky, they can get a draw out of it, because we know this team does struggle on the road, and they're playing against a DC team that, let's just hope that maybe they can put that loss against Columbus behind them, because again, that 3-0 loss that they suffer against Columbus, the scoreline didn't indicate the fact that they actually did play well in that game, and the only problem that is the reason why they didn't win that game and lost 3-0 is the fact that they just couldn't finish. And if they can show that finishing touch, maybe they have a chance in this one against the Houston Dynamo. But that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the 5 remaining games that's going to be happening in terms of the Saturday action. So moving on, we got the New England Revolution versus the Columbus Crew, as this one starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, and the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. New England has a 3-1-5 record, while Columbus dead even at 3 wins, 3 draw, and 3 losses. All-time meeting between both of these teams, you know, with both of these teams being teams that originally came into the league in the inception in 1996. That means the all-time meeting is going to be pretty high. In fact, Columbus does lead this all-time meeting with a 39, 18, and 28 record. Last 5 head-to-head matchup between both of these teams, it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams, a 2-2 draw between both of these teams. Then New England, of course, winning 1-0 against Columbus, and then Columbus winning 1-0 against New England, and then Columbus winning 1-0 against the New England Revolution. And in fact, it wasn't long ago that this was actually a matchup that everybody would be keeping an eye on, because this, I think last year this was a matchup, or actually no, not last year. Well, is it last year? Well, it was kind of a matchup between a very decent team and also a team that of course just won MLS Cup. Nowadays, it is a game between two teams that are looking to try to find a spark, because both of these teams are coming off of a win after going through a difficult coast stretch to start their season, and that whoever can get a win in this will really start a spark and start to have a comeback. And you got the sense that I think the Revs maybe need this more, knowing their record is not as good as Columbus. But again, both of these teams desperately need a spark, and let's see whether one of these teams is going to do so. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, we got Minnesota versus FC Cincinnati, as this one will start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. Now, in the beginning of the season, when I look at this matchup, I feel like this is probably an automatic win for the Loons, because, the Loons have a perfect record against FC Cincinnati, 3-0-0 in the MLS existed, and you could even say 4-0-0 because, going back to the NPSL, or not the NPSL, I'm sorry, the NASL, and the day when FC Cincinnati was still playing in the USL, Minnesota was able to beat FC Cincinnati in one of the other meeting. But nowadays I don't think that, as much as I said this is an automatic win in the beginning of the season, knowing the fact that Cincinnati has been playing very well under Pat Nolan, especially in the last two game, winning back-to-back game, and have already matched the total amount of wins that they had last season with 4 wins, 1 draw, and 5 losses, while Minnesota has 4 wins, 2 draw, and 3 losses. I'm not sure that this could be an automatic win for the Loons, and especially, after that tough loss that they have against LAFC, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to be bounced back in this game against Cincinnati. But like I said, they do have a relatively good record against Cincinnati, a 1-0 win last time both of these teams face off against each other, before Minnesota winning 2-0 against Cincinnati. And then in the first ever meeting, I certainly have not forgot about that first meeting, although if you're a Cincy fan, you definitely don't want to remember that first meeting against Minnesota when they got absolutely shellacked by the Loons, losing 7-1 on the road in that one. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be the case in this game. In fact, I'll be shocked if we're going to see something like that again, knowing the fact that, Cincinnati, as I said before, this is a team that is no longer a punching bag. You have to take this team seriously, because this team has been able to get wins and play well. And sure, yes, there is still some of those Cincinnati trait that is left in them, with the way that, they still at times somehow find a way to lose a resort, but we have not seen that every single game, and that is definitely a good sign, because if there's one way to get rid of those old habits, and you basically get rid of those old habits that you do every single game, try the baby step and basically start from the beginning, try to cut down on it, and then eventually things are going to get better, and that's exactly what FC Cincinnati is right now. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is FC Dallas versus the Seattle Sounders. So there's no doubt that I think the Sounders were petitioning MLS once again to give them the week off, because, anytime when you just won a trophy, and especially make some history on Wednesday, becoming the first ever MLS team to win CCL, and finally seeing an MLS team to win a competition that they've been wanted to win for such a long time, I feel like MLS should just give the Sounders off, because that coming into this game, they are going to be absolutely hungover coming into this one against Dallas. But for Dallas, I think they're also asking MLS to not call this game off, because they know that this is a great opportunity to take a advantage against a hungover Sounders team. In fact, their record so far this season, it's been very good. 4-4-1 record, whereas the Sounders have a 2-1-4 record. This game will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. All-time meeting between both of these teams, the Sounders does lead the record 18-9-9. And in the last 5 head-to-head meeting, the Sounders did win the last meeting 1-0 before the Sounders drew 1-1 against Dallas. Then it was a 1-0 win that the Sounders had against Dallas, and then of course in that crazy Western Conference first round matchup back in 2019, the Sounders were able to win 4-3 after extra time. But before that, it was a 0-0 draw between both of these teams. But like I said, for Dallas, they are kind of the recipient of a team that, I'm pretty sure Brian Schmitzer is going to still try to remind his guys that, yes, it's great that they make history, and it's great that they've done something that no MLS team has ever done in existence. But they need to, of course, get back and start focus in terms of the league, because, right now they are sitting below the red line, and that they are, I believe, in 11th place in the Western Conference, and that, I'm not really worried one bit for the Sounders of not making the playoffs, and that's even if they're not going to have Joao Paulo for the rest of the season after it was confirmed he suffered a torn ACL and he's done for the season, because we know this is a Sounders team that know how to do second half resurgent. I mean, there's a reason why I've mentioned anytime when a team does a second half resurgent, I mention the Sounders name, because they are renowned of making those second half resurgent. Though I don't think this will be the one that it kicks off, because again, it's hard to try and to do something that is historic, and literally 3 days later you have to come back into the league and hope to get a win. I mean, if they do get a win in this one, then it will continue to show the mentality of this team, where they're just not satisfied of just winning one trophy, and that they're hungry to just kind of focus on play. But if the Sounders does not do well in this game, I don't think anybody would care, including Sounders fan. I think they themselves are still hungover in terms of what just happened on Wednesday, of how they have now done something that, again, no other MLS team has ever done before, which is winning the CONCACAF Champions League. But now moving on, in terms of the next game, we got the San Jose Earthquakes versus the Colorado Rapids, as this game starts at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. Now, for the Rapids, you would think that this is exactly what the doctor ordered with the way that they are going to be playing against San Jose, but one thing I will say about the Quakes, ever since under Alex Carvalho, this team has played very well, and that's include that loss against NYCFC, where again I don't think the scoreline justify how the Quakes actually did well against NYCFC for majority of the game, but in the end the quality, of course, basically was shown with NYCFC, and that I have no problem with the Quakes eventually losing to a much superior team, and that the quality, of course, shine, because that's just kind of the reality. But also, I think one of the reasons why the Rapids should really take the Quakes seriously this season is that the Quakes have only lost once this season at home, and it just happened to be the only game that have 10 this season for the Quakes, when they lost 3-1 against the Red Bulls. But when you look at all the games that the Quakes have been playing at home, my oh my, it's been chaotic, and it's been just comebacks after comebacks after comebacks, which, it's something that it's a good thing to have, where they've definitely shown that Goonies never die kind of mentality this season at home, and that, this is a team that, despite the bad record, they just have that reputation of always come back late in the game, and that I think the Rapids, and especially Robin Fraser, will know the fact that even if they do lead in this game against the Quakes, yeah, this game is far from over. You know that the Quakes will find a way to come back and maybe get a draw out of this resort. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, the Quakes does lead the all-time meeting, 30, 18, and 25, the record. But the last 5 head-to-head matchup, it hasn't been favoring the Quakes. In fact, they lost 1-0 last time at home against Colorado, and I think that was the first time that they lost to the Rapids in almost 6 years at home. But before that, it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams. The Rapids absolutely throttled the Quakes 5-0 before it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams, and then the Rapids, of course, winning 2-1 on the road against the Quakes. But like I said, this is a Quakes team that I think now under Alex Carvalho, and that, as I said, I feel like this is still a team that is playing house money, where I don't expect this team to make the playoffs. I expect this team to at least be respectful for the rest of the season, and then we'll see heading into the off season when they do get a new head coach, and maybe add some more pieces to be a competitive team. But right now any wins is a bonus for the Quakes, and I feel like this could be a chance to do so, because the Rapids, I know they got a much needed win against the Timbers, but they are still having the issue in terms of finishing this season. Like, the only reason why the Rapids are not doing as well as they are this season is that they just haven't been clinical in terms of their finishing. And when you have a game where you're not clinical in terms of your finishing, and it doesn't really matter if you put up great expected goals kind of numbers, if you don't put the ball into the back of the net, it wouldn't matter at the end of the day. And that, again, that's exactly what the Rapids are having problem. And let's see whether or not if they can fix that problem in this game against the Quakes. But that being said, moving on into the last game in terms of the Saturday night action is LAFC versus the Philadelphia Union. And for whatever reason, this game, with it being the battle between the top teams in both of the conference, it starts at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. I mean, I have no idea why the league decided to do that. I mean, you could argue the fact that, well, the league didn't realize the fact that both of these teams were going to be at the top of their respective conference, and therefore we decided to schedule these games. But there's also that thing called flexing. I mean, they could have easily flexed this game to a better time. In fact, they probably should do it, because now nobody's going to watch this unless you're on the West Coast, because I'm pretty sure Union fans, I mean, they're not going to be happy the fact that they have to stay up very late into the night just to watch their team play. And again, you know, it is very rare we do see these kind of 11 p.m. Eastern kind of start, but I guess maybe this is also a game where, you know, with that late of a start, you know there's going to be some MLS after dark shithousery that could happen in this one. But this game, of course, as I mentioned, between two teams that's leading their conference. LAFC, of course, leading the Supporter Shield with a 7-1-1 record, while the Union have a 5-3-1 record. They only met 3 times prior to this meeting, with LAFC getting the only win, and there was 2 draws between both of these teams. Last 3 head-to-head, it was a 3-3 draw between both of these teams. An incredible game the last time both of these team play. Before, it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams, and LAFC did win 4-1 in the first ever meeting between both of these teams. But yeah, this should be a game that, again, it should have been on national television, and that if there is any game this season that should be on national television, or at least flex to it, this game should have been the case. And now it's unfortunate that a lot of people is going to miss this match, but I guess maybe this could be used as a campaign to say that, yep, this is MLS After Dark, and that we're going to see some crazy thing that could potentially happen in this one because of how late the kickoff is, especially if you're living in the East Coast. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the preview of all 11 games that's going to be happening on Saturday. Tomorrow I will do the preview of the Sunday action, and I will also do the review in terms of the matinee game. Of course, I try to not do as much review as possible when I do a lot of those review on Sunday and also in Monday, if that is going to be the case. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all 11 of these games, and make sure you let me know in the comments your prediction for all 11 of these games. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys hit a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.